Hello everyone and welcome to this Cherry Hearts tutorial. I'm Sandra and in this tutorial I'm going to be showing you how to make these mini hexagons and these crochet flowers. And then I'll move on to show you how I am joining the flowers into a blanket. So the reason I like this join is you get a nice neat finish from the front. The joins will always match your motifs because you're using the colour from the motifs, and I also like that you get this nice feature at the back, and it also means it reduces your ends because instead of having an end where you finish the motif, then another end when you start the join and yet another end where you finish the join, you just have the ends from the motif, so it reduces the total number of ends quite significantly. So here's our first hexagon. I've taken the yarn to the back and sewed in the ends. So this will be the middle of our hexagon shape. So this will be this one here. And then the subsequent hexagons I make, I will join around the edge. So here's the hexagon I showed you how to make in the little mini hexagon tutorial. So I've left my yarn attached to this one because I knew I wanted to join it. So the first thing we need to do is just make a slip stitch into the corner space, and then I'm going to turn the hexagon to the back, and I've taken my hook out of the loop there. So I'm just going to bring this working loop to the back of the hexagon. So I'm going to stick my crochet hook in there and bring it back around. So now my working yarn is at the back of the work and I can join to my first hexagon. So with the wrong side facing, I'm going to put it on top of my hexagon. So I've got the right sides together and the wrong sides are facing outwards. And I'm going to insert the hook into the chain space. So the chain space that I'm currently on this hexagon, and also a chain space of the hexagon I'm joining to. And I'm just going to make a double crochet stitch through there. So that's a UK double crochet, so a US single crochet. So I've brought my yarn through and I'll yarn over and pull through to make the stitch. And then I'm going to do that along both sets of stitches on this one edge. So the first one that you have to work into was actually your starting chain space of the round. So it's a little trickier to get into this one. So force your hook into that little space there, and then you can work into the first stitch of the hexagon you're joining to. So I've got them both together there, and then I just pull the yarn through both of those stitches. Then I yarn over and pull through to make the double crochet or US single crochet. So that's the first stitch. Now let's work into the second stitch. So the second stitch of each hexagon, so can you see both sets of loops are on there for the first hexagon and the hexagon I'm joining to. And then I'll do the same thing for the third. And then the last fourth stitch. If you've made your hexagons bigger and you have more stitches, just work into each one all the way along. And then when you get to the corner, just finish by making one stitch into the corner stitch. So there we have one join on one edge, which is all we need for the first hexagon. So I'll just pull my yarn through. And there's our join, nice, neat, and it will always match the yarn colour because you've left the yarn on as you're joining. So I'm ready to join my next hexagon now. Mine's in a slightly different shade. So I'm going to join that on two sides this time, so I'll show you how to do that. So I've got mine ready to join. I made my slip stitch into the corner space, so now I just need to bring the hook, the loop, to the back of the work. So we have the loop ready to go, and now I'm ready to attach my hexagon. So I'm going to put it right sides down again on this middle hexagon, and I'll work along the middle hexagon first and then along the edge of the petal hexagon. So the first thing to do is insert the hook into the corner space of the current hexagon I'm working, and then into the corner space, the correct corner space of the hexagon I'm joining to. So I want it in the space next to the hexagon. So I'll yarn over and pull through to make a double crochet, or US single crochet. And again, as I did previously, I'm just going to work along both sets of stitches. So I'm just going to work into that first slightly tighter, trickier stitch there, and then into the first stitch of the hexagon I'm joining to, the middle hexagon, and then I can work a stitch, a double crochet stitch or US single crochet stitch to join them together. So then match up the two second stitches, much easier after that first one's done, and work along this edge. And then, as you did with the first one, once you get to the corner, just make another join into the corner space. So there we have it joined on one side, but we want to carry on and join it on this second side as well. So if we look to the back now, what we're going to do to make the corner and to make a nice neat finish at the back of our work is we're actually going to make a slip stitch into the end of the join at the back of the hexagons here. So there's our join where we joined the first hexagon onto the middle, and we're just going to work a slip stitch into the end of that join, so just under the first double crochet there, and we're going to pull that yarn through just to make a slip stitch and just give it a little tug to pull that up tight. So what that will do is it will help you turn the corner ready to make your second join, but it'll also mean you get a nice neat finish to all your joins at the back. So if you did want to show your joining from the front and get the ridges at the front, that's how you'd get a nice neat finish, so it'd look nice from the front as well. So now we've done our little slip stitch into the join, we're ready to join our second side. So we hold those second hexagons together, so they're still right sides together, wrong sides facing out, and we work into the chain space first. So I don't know if you can see that very well, but so I've gone into the space of that one and then also into the space of the next one. Hold them together, and we're just to make a double crochet, UK double crochet, to hold those together, and then we can work along the stitches in exactly the same way as we did for the first hexagon. So work into the first set of stitches, then the second, then the third, then the fourth stitch, and finally end on the corner. So now I have those two sides joined, I can just pull the yarn through to finish. So now we have two petals joined, and all you would need to do now is join some more petals in exactly the same way round to this last petal, which I'll show you in a moment. So you would make another hexagon, you'd keep that yarn on ready to join, and then place it right sides together on the middle and work along this edge first, and then once that was attached you'd begin to work along that edge and you would join the petal on. So here we are with all 5 petals attached, and we're just ready to join our last one on now, where we have to do a join on 3 sides. So working exactly the same way as I just showed you to a join along 2 sides, working along each stitch and into the spaces along each edge, and then working into the join at the back for each corner. Then you can attach your new petal and just work around the 3 edges as shown already. So there's the completed flower with all the ends tidied away. When it comes to joining the Hexie flowers to each other to make a blanket or whatever project you have in mind, I use the same joining method. So I make a mini hexagon. I've got a background colour of white here. And then I just join on in the same way. So I take my loop to the back of the work, then place the hexagon right sides together where I want to make the join. So in this case I would join along the top here, and then I would have one hexagon attached like so. Once I have one background hexagon attached to my flower, I can then join a second hexagon. Unfortunately, because this join is on the opposite side of our background hexagon, we do have to make a separate join for this. There isn't a clever way of getting the yarn from this side around to in position to make this second join. Technically, once you've finished this join here, you could slip stitch along this edge and this edge, the 2 edges here, which would leave your yarn in position where you could then work along this edge and make a join all in one go. Personally, I don't do that, because as you slip stitch around here, you would end up with a lot bulkier seam, and it would make it quite awkward to work into those stitches when you are making the subsequent joins on these edges. So my preference is just to separate the yarn and accept I'll have a couple more ends. You may feel differently about that, but what I prefer to do is just a separate join. So I'll reattach the yarn and make a join there. So I would line up the Hexie flower like so, and I would reattach the yarn into this corner space to make the join. Once I've joined a new hexagon on, I can then work most of the background hexagons using the continuous join. So in the same way, I'd make a mini hexagon, take my loop to the back, and then I can join along these 3 sides in one go. And then if I added another hexagon here, I could join along all 4 sides in one go. It's only really when I'm joining a new hexagon on that I have to then make one join while the yarn is attached, and then I have to break to get across the other side to join a new hexagon. But all the other hexagons can generally be joined continuously, as all the joins are consecutive rather than separate. I'm including a little diagram next which will show you how I'm laying out my Hexie flowers in my blanket, and that will show you where I'm using the separate joins to attach the new flowers and how I'm using the continuous joins as much as I possibly can. My layout does use slightly more of the white background flowers than other layouts you may have seen. That was my preference, so that I could reduce the separate joins as much as possible and minimise ends. So I'll include that in case that's useful for you as well. And that's it from me. So thanks ever so much for joining me for this tutorial. I hope you found it helpful, and I'll also include the hashtag for you here, and look forward to seeing your blankets popping up on social media soon. I'll see you next time. Bye!